Have you ever wondered why there's no single perfect app for everything? No ultimate way to organize all your files or your photos or just your life? Well, it turns out there's a really deep reason for that, and it all comes down to a simple choice that we all have to make.
So I want you to think for a second. Take a look at your own desk, or maybe your computer's desktop right now. Are you one of those super neat people where everything is filed away exactly where it's supposed to be? Or do you kind of thrive in what some might call organized chaos, with little piles of projects and notes all over the place? Go on, be honest.
Because believe it or not, that exact same choice between perfect, pristine order and a kind of functional messiness is a dilemma your computer has to solve millions of times a second, every time it saves a file or looks up a piece of data. This isn't just about personality. It's actually one of the biggest challenges in all of computer science.
So let's dive into what we can call the organizer's dilemma. It's really all about trade-offs. You see, when it comes to storing information, there is no such thing as a free lunch. You always have to give something up to get something else.
Okay, think about a bookshelf. Let's say you arrange all your books alphabetically by author. Awesome. Finding a specific book is super easy, right? But what happens the moment you buy a new book by, Douglas Adams? You have to shift every single book from Adams all the way to the end just to make room. It's a total pain. So what's the alternative? Well, you could just stick the new book in the first empty space you see. Adding books is now instant. But good luck finding that one specific book later. You've traded finding speed for adding speed.
Now, that little trade-off is just annoying for a bookshelf. But for a computer that's juggling billions of files, it would be a total deal breaker. So, of course, computer scientists came up with a much better way, a system that tries to give us the best of both worlds.
So instead of one long shelf, just imagine you have 26 different bins, labeled A through Z. When you get a new book by Asimov, you just toss it in the A bin. Simple. And to find it later, you just go straight to the A bin and look through a much smaller pile. This is brilliant! It's fast to add and it's fast to find. Well, most of the time.
Yeah, here's the catch. What if you're a huge fan of classic sci-fi and Canadian literature? Suddenly, your A-bin with authors like Asimov and Atwood and Austen is overflowing. You're right back to digging through a messy pile. Meanwhile, your Q-bin, your X-bin, and your Z-bin are all sitting there completely empty, just wasting space.
And this brings us to a real-world data structure that you use every day, the hash table. Think of it like our bin system, but on steroids. Instead of just using the first letter, it uses a really clever mathematical formula called a hash function to assign each item to a bin. The whole point of this function is to spread everything out as evenly as possible so you never get that all authors in the A bin problem. Honestly, this is the magic that lets databases find your records almost instantly. But even this super clever solution has its own trade-off: time versus memory. See, if you want to make your searches lightning fast, you just create thousands and thousands of bins. That way, each one only has like 1 or 2 items in it. But you end up wasting a ton of memory on all those empty bins. On the other hand, if you want to save memory, you use fewer bins. But then each bin gets fuller and your searches start to slow down again. You can't have it all. You can't maximize both. Okay, so hash tables are fantastic when you might need to find any item at any time. But what if that's not your problem? What if what you're really dealing with is priorities?
This question changes everything. Think about an emergency room, or even just your own to-do list. You don't really care about finding the task you need to do 3 weeks from now, do you? No, you only care about one thing. What is the absolute most urgent thing I need to do right now? For this problem, the perfect solution looks less like a neat library and more like a smart pile. The single most important task is always sitting right there on top, ready for you to grab it. Everything else, it can be a total jumbled mess underneath. Who cares about the order of low-priority items? All that matters is that your top priority is instantly available. In computer science, this priority pile has a name. It's called a heap. It's a data structure that's designed to do one job, and one job only. Keep the highest priority item right at the top, ready to go. This is absolutely crucial for things like your computer's operating system, which is constantly juggling which program to run next. And the real beauty of the heap is just how simple it is. When a new, super urgent task comes in, you don't have to reorganize the whole pile. You just drop it at the bottom and let it bubble up. It gets compared to the item right above it, and if it's more urgent, they swap places. It is incredibly effective. So, how fast is it? You're gonna love this. For a to-do list with 1,000 tasks, adding a new critically urgent item takes, at most, only 9 swaps to get it into the right place. 9! That's it. That is just breathtakingly efficient. And it's why heaps are used in all sorts of important algorithms, like finding the shortest route on your GPS. So what do we have? We've got 2 completely different ways of thinking: the hyper-organized library and the prioritized, slightly messy pile. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that maybe we need to change how we think about organization itself. So let's just recap real quick. The hash table, that's your library. It's perfect for finding any item quickly, but you have to trade off between search time and memory space. Then you have the heap. That's your to-do list. It's perfect for getting the top priority item instantly, and it trades that overall tidiness for flexibility. 2 totally different systems for 2 very different jobs. And that brings us to the most important takeaway here. There is no single best way to store information. Period. Anyone who tells you they have the one perfect productivity system for everyone is just missing the point. The best system always depends on the specific problem you're trying to solve. Every choice you make involves a trade-off. And I want to leave you with this thought, which I think is pretty powerful. The logic of the heap, of that priority pile, kind of gives us permission to be a little messy. It shows us that if your main goal is to focus on what's most important, then trying to perfectly organize everything else isn't just unnecessary, it's actually inefficient. So maybe don't be afraid of a little mess, as long as your priorities are crystal clear. And that brings us right back to you. In your life, are you trying to build a library where absolutely everything needs to be findable at a moment's notice? Or are you managing a priority pile where really only the next most important thing truly matters? Answering that question will tell you everything you need to know, because the key isn't finding the one perfect system. It's about choosing the right trade-offs for what you're trying to achieve.